It takes 30 days to form a habit and 90 days to make it stick. Lucky for you, Audible and I have teamed up to bring you the Sound Reset Challenge, a 4-week series designed to help you unlock your 2026 goals one step at a time. All brought to you by Audible. Audible's well-being collection has everything to inspire and support you in every step of your well-being journey. I'm Sisanie, co-host of On Air with Ryan Seacrest, and today I'm joined by Nedra Glover Tawwab, therapist, best-selling author, and the voice behind the Audible original 30 Days to Better Boundaries, a 30-day step-by-step guide to learning and implementing better boundaries in our lives. Nedra's work has helped millions understand that boundaries aren't about shutting people out. They're about creating healthier, more honest connections with others and ourselves especially. And today, Nedra is here to chat with us all about her book and its many insights. Then we'll invite you to join me in a 4-week challenge to help us set boundaries in support of healthier, more balanced lives. Let's take a listen and let's take the challenge to turn our resolutions into reality. Welcome, Nedra. How are you?
Thank you for having me. Thank you for that warm intro.
You're very welcome. I want to get into this book and everything about it. I was very fascinated by most of your books, and I just wanted to say what inspired you to write about boundaries specifically in the first place.
Yeah, well, I have been a therapist for 19 years now, and when I first started, I noticed an issue with boundaries in many people, and that looked like challenges with work, challenges with getting your partner to be more helpful, challenges with speaking up in your friendships or feeling like you're the person doing everything in the family. And at the time, I was teaching assertiveness, and assertiveness is a part of being able to express boundaries. And over time, what I realized was the missing ingredient for most of us is having very clear expectations and needs and letting our people know it so they can, love us in the right way. We can feel safe and comfortable and we can get along well.
What do you think people needed to understand when they didn't quite get, like, how did you kind of like pinpoint for people that were just like, how do I even start? Where do I first start with these boundaries?
Well, whatever you're talking about is the problem that you have. And sometimes I am reassuring people that it's okay, even for the minor thing to be a big thing to you. Because sometimes people don't think that there's any resolution to not having enough time to take care of themselves. They don't think it's a resolution to getting their partner to help with things. They're like, oh my gosh, I have to process this and talk about it and complain about it. And it's like, actually, here are some things you can do. Have you been clear? Have you stated, things in these sort of terms? And once we look at what is within my control, what can I do to improve this situation? How can I make my life better? That's when people start to see some differences, because now they are showing up as a boundaried individual.
I see that. And that's so difficult sometimes for people to do because they, just like what you said, having that initial conversation sometimes makes us feel like, oh, forget it, I'm just going to do it myself, or I'm just going to like deal with it. And
Yeah.
and then you form these habits probably at such a young age, and that's what you think life is.
Yeah, like I have to deal with how people show up in my life. I have to deal with what I like and what I don't like. Like I can't do anything about it. When in actuality, once you consider like, here are some changes I could make. Here are some things that I could actually do. Life feels better. Like if you feel like you're stuck in a situation, yeah, it feels terrible. Like, a lot of times I weigh out options for people. I say, yes, you don't like your job. Here, you can have an uncomfortable conversation with your boss about this thing. You can continue as it is and always talk about hating it. You can look for another job. You can do this. You can do that. Like there are options.
Right.
The talking about the problem is not the only option. There are ways to fix or restore this situation.
I want to talk about this Audible original 30 Days to
hmm
Better Boundaries. What are some emotional or maybe physical signs that tell us we've been neglecting our boundaries?
Yeah. So when I released my first book, I booked myself out of this world, like back to back. And I wasn't eating lunch, and I would talk to like six people in a day and just doing all of these things. And I noticed one physical symptom I started to have was headaches. I
Wow.
started to have headaches just from like talking, not having the energy to get a drink of water or just like move through the day appropriately. And so I had to say, I need to have a lunch break. That's the boundary I need in this
Yeah.
situation. Maybe I need to talk to five people and not six. And
Hmm.
so sometimes the physical symptom, it could be headaches, it could be stomach issues, it could be problems with your sleep. Sometimes, especially when people are really anxious about things, it starts to show up on their skin. So psoriasis, breakouts, hives, all sorts of things happen to our body as a result of not being mentally well. Another one of the things that I start to notice sometimes with myself is like ticks. Like when I'm really stressed, my eye starts jumping.
That
Um,
happens to me. Like my left eye will just start twitching. And I just kind of like, oh, I'm stressed. It's like my signal.
yes. That's my stress signal too. And it's like it's so uncontrollable. And until I'm through that phase or that stress level decreases, it doesn't stop. It's like do 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 do. It's like an indicator light almost. It's
It
like
really
blink blink
is. It's like
blink.
our bodies were
Yeah.
made to give us that warning signal.
Yeah, if you don't regularly get headaches and you are having this tumultuous situation at
Yeah.
work, guess why you're getting headaches?
Uh-huh.
What are you tying that to? If you rarely get breakouts and you have this hard conversation coming up with your mother-in-law, and it's like, oh my gosh, my whole chest just,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, your body is scared too.
Who knew that the cure to all that is just set boundaries?
Well, not all the time.
Okay,
I
okay,
wish that
okay.
was a cure to everything. But in some cases, it is what do I need to do differently so I'm not back in this space? How
Yeah.
do I alleviate my eye twitching? You know, there are moments in life where I don't want to listen to that eye twitch, and I'm like, let me keep going at this pace. And it's like,
Right.
okay, in a minute, you're going to have a little paralysis and we're going to
Uh-huh.
close all the way. So it's like, let me listen to it. Let me take a break. What do I need now? Let me slow down. Let me do something. So this is not a process that I have in order to learn a lesson.
I like how you said that it doesn't have to be all or nothing either. You can go
Mm-hmm.
from instead of having six interviews in one day down to five or down to four and just trying to figure out
Mm-hmm.
that pace of just
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like a slight adjustment that we can all make in our lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is slight adjustments. Now, sometimes the adjustments are huge. It's big, it's overwhelming. But when possible, we have to baby step it. You know, that's something I talk about in the 30 days to better boundaries. We have to take small steps to get to these big things. And when we look at what we need to do, it can seem so huge. It can seem
Hmm.
so huge, especially if you've had a problem for a long time. If you have been the person who everybody comes to with their problems your entire life,
Yeah.
right? And now you want to change that. You're like, I have problems too. I don't want to do that anymore. It seems like a really big thing, but there are bite-sized ways to do that. First, it starts with one person. It starts with saying, hey, I know you have this issue. I'm not in the space to help you with it. Is it possible that we could talk about it at a later time? Or is it possible that we've talked about this before and I wonder if you need a deeper level of care that I can't provide in this
Yeah.
situation? That's just with one person. Now, you said you're like this with everybody, but you have to start with the one person and the one thing.
Hmm. No, I definitely have been in situations where there were certain people in my lives or friends that you just know if that friend's coming over, all they're going to do is complain,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like their therapist for the whole every
Mm-hmm.
single time they visit.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I kind of knew some of these tools because I would get so overwhelmed that eventually I've cut these people out of my life, which I don't know if that was the right answer, but it was what I needed in that moment because I couldn't even handle it.
Yeah, I think our final boundary in many instances is to leave or have that cutoff, right? Whether
Hmm.
it's quitting a job or quitting this situation or leaving the relationship. And sometimes it's before we place any boundaries because we don't even know where to get started. The situation has been ongoing and it just seems like the person won't even receive it because we've put
Hmm.
ourselves in such a bad position. But I do think it's beautiful to start with boundaries first before we get to that point. But there are some instances where, if the cutoff is the boundary that you could implement at that time, how do you feel about it now? Do you feel like, ooh, I'm so happy I don't talk to that person? Or is it like, gosh, maybe I could have done something differently? The therapist in me says, we did what we could at that time.
Yeah.
If we had different tools, we would have used them. And that's the
Yeah.
tool that I had. That's the only tool I had was to stop answering your call.
I can
If,
validate it. I had just had twins. So,
oh
I
my
had a lot on my
gosh.
plate.
You had a lot on your plate, like all the forgiveness to you for that situation. Yeah, yeah. And
If I
listening
had
to
to
some,
defend myself, that would be what I would say to that.
yeah.
Okay.
And we can recover from situations like that too.
Yeah.
I think it, especially like a mother who has two children, maybe you already had some kids, being able to say to people that, at that time, I could not take on the role of a friend that you needed. I did not have the capacity. 5 years later, I have a little more time to
Right.
listen. At that time, I could not listen and I didn't know how to say it. So
Yeah.
I'm coming to you. And if the door is still open, sometimes people are like, no, you didn't, no, 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 no. But
Hmm.
it's possible to repair that, or try. You certainly
That's
could
good to
try.
know. I love that. Your book, 30 Days to Better Boundaries. I'm here with Nedra Glover Tawwab. And I know that in the book you mentioned using I statements
Hmm.
instead of you statements. What would you
Hmm.
say is the benefit of that small shift in language?
Hmm. Well, I statements are making the situation about you versus the other person. For instance, if we use the example of a friend constantly complaining to you, right? It's like, I don't have the capacity. I am a new mother. I am low on sleep. And so some of these things that I'm brainstorming and working through with you, I can't even pay attention to because I'm trying to remember to eat my food, shower, feed kids. I can't get with it. So I know that I am not being the best friend that you need in this moment, but I do need just a little bit of space to focus on this home situation I have right
Hmm.
now. Instead of saying, you are annoying because you're always talking about stuff and I don't have time to listen to it because I just had two kids. Why are you always talking about stuff and you see that I'm overwhelmed and busy? Right?
Wow, that is like it's like two completely different conversations. That's wild.
Yeah, but I think when we make it about other people, they are automatically on the defense. Automatically. When you can put it on yourself
Yeah.
as this is all my problem, because really it is.
Yeah.
It's
No,
it's
100%.
this may I remember when I was taking some distance from a friend, I said to someone, they were like, why don't you just tell her all the things you don't like? And I was like, why? This isn't even a problem for her other friends. This is a problem for me.
Hmm.
These things work for her in other relationships. Other people don't care about this. Why would I go to her and demand that she change her personality for me? I'm one person out of 20 friends.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing in those other scenarios work. It does not work for me right now. And it really was, I did not have the time to connect with her as often as she liked.
Yeah.
I just don't have that time right now. It's not that I never had it. I've changed. I used to
Right.
have it. I don't have it anymore. So I am shifting the way that I'm showing up in this relationship, not based on who you are, but based on who I am in this moment. Keep doing what you do in those other relationships. It's not working for me based on where I am.
I feel like just even knowing this little piece of information is so useful in your relationship with your boyfriend or your husband. Like in my head, I'm already just like, oh my gosh, all the times that I just, get in arguments with my husband and I say, you, everything's you. It's just the shift of I.
Yeah. And yeah, I think in particular with our partners is like, you're messy, you're this, you didn't help with this, you didn't, and it's like, I would like the house to flow in a
Hmm.
certain way. That's what you're upset about. You
Right.
want things to look a certain way in the house. It's not because they're messy necessarily. Yes, that's problematic, but I have an expectation of how things should happen. And I notice that I'm putting on you my expectation. What are some ways that we can work together to resolve this?
Exactly. When someone sets a boundary with us, I feel as if sometimes it can feel like a rejection, or some people might take it as an attack. How can we learn to receive a boundary from somebody as an act of love versus they hate
Mm.
me?
Mm. Well, if someone is setting a boundary with you, consider it a gift. Because what I hear in that is they still want to be in a relationship.
Hmm.
Because the ultimate boundary, as we talked about, is cutting people off, leaving relationships. So if the boundary isn't that, I am saying I want to be here, whether it's in a more distant way, or if it's, hey, this is what I need in terms of this thing, or here's what you'll see me do different. You'll see me doing differently. They want to be in a relationship with you. What a
Yeah.
gift that someone is willing to say, hey, I'm having an issue around this thing that we're going through together, because they could just not answer your calls anymore. They could just move out. They could
Hmm.
just quit on you. But what they're saying is, I want to be in this with you, and here's how, we can be in it and I can be happy, and maybe you could too. Here's a few things we need to change. If we think about it, in most scenarios, things change. Whether that's, the internet. I remember you used to get those discs in the mail, right? And internet used to be really slow. Now it's fast. Now it's fiber. Now it's, things change.
Hmm.
So do relationships. So do the people in them. So a part of, being in a relationship is sometimes getting a little adjustment to the boundaries in the relationship.
Right.
Not a bad thing. I have two kids and they're not adults, they're, kids, but I welcome them saying stuff and having hard conversations with me. And I notice sometimes before they say stuff, they'll say, oh, I don't want you to be mad. And my assurance to them is, hey, I don't want you to worry about my feelings. If I'm mad, sad, happy, or glad, that's for me to work on. I want you to be able to communicate with me.
Hmm.
Because if you can't communicate with me, that's when people leave relationships,
Right.
because they can't talk to you. When people are like, I don't know why they stopped talking to me, because they can't.
Uh-huh.
that's a huge part of it, because when they
Yeah.
try to talk to you, even on minor things, we may not even notice it. When people try to talk to us, how are we allowing them to share a grievance?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, you're
So
right. And
it's
and
a
you
gift.
you bring up kids. My twins are 7 now, and I have a 4-year-old as well. And
Mm,
just the other day, they always want whatever it is. They need this, they need
mhm,
that, help with a game,
mhm,
help with this. And I was in the middle of an email, and I'd say 95% of the time I always drop what I'm doing and I go and help them. And I
mhm,
had just
mhm.
started listening to your book, and I was like all in my head about boundaries. And so I said, "Hey, mommy's doing an email right now. Give me 5 minutes and then I can play with you." And it felt like this relief. And they looked at me and they go, "Okay, mommy." And they walked away instead of like sitting there begging, crying how they usually would to get their way right at that moment. And I
Mhm.
felt like I used one of your tools right in that moment. It was so nice.
Yeah, well, I am at this place in parenting. After I cook a meal, once I sit down, I will eat my food before I fulfill any requests. And the requests are, can I get some more beans? Can I get some water? Can I get
Yep.
some? I will eat the food that I prepared and plate it for you. You're getting seconds. I'm still on first.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't even finished my food yet. So my boundary is I'm not getting up until I eat what I plan to on this plate. Then I will fulfill water requests or whatever else. But those are things you have to learn to ask when a person is standing up and prepared to help you. Once I sit down with my fork or spoon, I'm eating.
I love that boundary. Every mother or parent should follow suit. If someone listening wants to be better at being assertive with their needs and boundaries, final thoughts here. Like, what's the first thing that you would tell them to do? Just the simplest way.
Simplest way. Practice on something easy. Sometimes we have to build our courage by doing it on the easiest thing and not the hardest thing. Many of us will be like, oh my gosh, I'm having this problem at work with my boss. Let me start there. No, maybe it's just telling your really pleasant mother the boundary that you've been wanting to set with her so you can understand, like, wow, people actually listen. You have that positive experience. So when someone is giving you some sort of pushback or they're being demanding, you could say, no, no, I know that people can hear boundaries because I've experienced it. So I would say not always starting with the hard thing, but sometimes starting with that easier thing and knowing that you're not going to get it right every time. Sometimes your language is a little off. You can go back and correct it.
Yeah.
You can say, the other day I said this and I realized that I led in a harsh way. I want to clean that up. Here's what I'm thinking.
Wow. I love that. So simple. Thank you so much for taking the time and being here with us. Nedra Glover Tawwab, 30 Days to Better Boundaries, available on Audible. And thank you for just sharing your wisdom with us today.
Thank you. Thank you.